issues where I'm not hurt. But when I go deep in relationships, it's going to start to hit these inner issues. And so I don't want people to get deep in relationship with me because they're going to touch my wounds. Okay, the next one. Self-centeredness. Again, some of these things overlap, and the really needy person can be self-centered. You've got really proud people that like to talk about themselves, like the superior pride person as well. Self-centered. The inferior pride person, it's like they're always with the victim mentality. Oh, could you please pray for me? Could you please help me? Can you please see me? I want people to see me. You know, they're like the person who has no friends because they don't go and make friends. Why doesn't everyone make friends with me? You know, my mum used to always tell me, if you want friends, go and make some friends. You know, don't sit by the phone. Why doesn't anybody from church phone me? They mustn't love me from church. Well, hey, if you're healthy, you phone them. You know, like, hey guys, how you going? You know, like the healthy person's going and they're stepping out making friends with everybody. The unhealthy person's home alone, getting all depressed and discouraged because the phone isn't ringing. Again, life and conversations always ends up focusing on their needs. Not just focusing on them, now it's focused on their needs. But they actually show very little interest in other people's needs. So they're always their need to be encouraged, their need to be recognised, their need to be helped. You know, they come to church, these people come to church and it's like, you know, why isn't the whole church serving me? Why isn't the whole... I was sick the other week and no one called me, you know. No one visited me at home. This is a terrible, unloving church. You know, but they're not looking around the church at other people's needs, that, you know, other people are sick too, and they're not running around to meet others' needs, they're waiting for others to meet theirs. That's a sign of being emotionally unhealthy. Okay, the next area, emotional immaturity. Emotional immaturity. This is where the person has a 40-year-old body and a 12-year-old attitude. You met those people? Like they're 50 years old and they're running around like a 13-year-old teenager still. When you're a 13-year-old teenager, it's okay, you see. It freaks me out, but it's okay. But when you've got a 40, 50-year-old running around like a teenager, just want to party like a teenager, it's like, what happens is this. If a person, when they're young, and I saw this in Tibet where they didn't have good medical system, if a person when they're young breaks their arm or their leg and it doesn't get healed properly, then say they're 6 or 7 years old when they've broken their arm or their leg, as they grow, the whole of their body will grow and be healthy, like a 20-year-old and 30-year-old later on, but their arm will be deformed. It will never actually grow correctly. And so what happens in our lives, and this is what we're all like actually, if you think of the analogy of a person's body, okay, if their arm was broken when they're young, everything else matures, but this arm doesn't. And so what happens is, the person can mature emotionally in some ways where actually they're far more mature than other people. And they're doing really good in some ways, and then in other ways they're very immature and deformed actually. And so, wherever you've been wounded in your life, whatever area of your personality has been wounded, it will not mature correctly. A sign of maturity is a person's ability to carry responsibility. A sign of immaturity is a person's inability to carry responsibility. So you know when you've got these 35-year-olds and they don't know how to hold down a job. A lot of people in society at the moment, they're 30, 35, and some people don't get married because they haven't found the right person yet. That's different. But there's a lot of people not getting married now, 30 years old, 35-year-old, and especially non-Christians, where they can actually go and have boyfriends and girlfriends and have all the good bits that you get from marriage without getting married. So that's what happens. Society is full of immature people, so they want the sex, they want all that fun stuff, but they don't want to get married and have children and have to work and And that's it's showing that there's woundedness that's not been healed. The inability to carry the responsibility. And that's why all over the world now, people are getting older and older and they're not marrying. Because, marriage will tie you down. You can't just, run all over the mountaintops and have fun and go wherever you want. Once you're married, it's called the ball and chain. You get locked in. You've got to get a job. And when you've got kids, it's like you've got to look after them and take them to school. And there's incredible responsibility. So an inability to carry responsibility is an indication of woundedness. 12-year-olds and 40-year-olds' bodies. Therefore, they don't know how to have healthy relationships. Emotionally immature people, they can't, especially conflict, they can't handle conflict in a godly, mature way. When you get married, if you can't handle conflict, it's like you're going to have a hard time. And that's why the divorce rate all over the world is increasing. Streetwise on the outside, but childish inside. So you understand streetwise? Kids that are streetwise is they know how to get around the streets. They know how to get around in the gangs. They know how to act and react in a way that they don't get hurt in life. But they're very childish and immature on the inside. Okay, the next one. Wherever you go, there's a pattern of broken relationships. So you've got to think back. I was walking along the beach one time, and I was praying to the Lord. I was speaking to the Lord about stuff and just meditating on the Lord. And the Lord said, "Glenn, stop." And I stopped. And the Lord said, "Glenn, look down at your feet." So I looked down at my feet. God says these really deep things. Stop, look down at your feet. Okay, God, I'm looking at my feet. Now the Lord said, "Look back behind you." And I looked down the beach, and no one had walked down that beach since the last tide had come through. So it's really flat, beautiful flat sand, except for I could see all the way down the beach my footprints. And what you need to do, and I encourage you to do actually over this next couple of days, I want you to go through the beach of life. I want you to stop, look at your feet, and go back and look at your footprints. Look at your patterns. How you act and react in relationships. How you treat people. How you, in the workplace, how do you go with the authorities in your workplace? Can you submit under authority? And so here, this person looks back and they see a pattern of broken relationships. And you can be working together with someone for 2 years and you do really good, and then suddenly you have this big argument and everything smashes apart, and then you leave. So 2 years of good relationship, then this big argument, but you walk away now with a broken relationship. In life, a person can do, say, 7 really good things, or even 8 really good things. And so we're talking about the things that they say to you, the things that they've done for you. You go out for coffee and have good times together. They've done 7 or 8 really good things, and say there's only 2 or 3 things that they've done, but they did 2 or 3 things that really hurt you. So for the rest of your life, when you think about that person now, what do you remember? You don't remember the 7, 8 good things. You only remember that 2, 3 really hurtful bad things that they did. Do you see how Satan can steal the blessing? The blessing of relationships, the blessing of the good memories. Mum and Dad invest into you for many years. They buy your clothes, they send you to school, they provide food for you, but then they make mistakes. I'm not saying it's right, but they might have made mistakes, but they got really angry, or they spanked you too hard once or twice or something. But you always walk around remembering how angry they were, and you forget all the blessing. Okay, that's a sign, because woundedness gets you to focus on the negative thing of life and forget the positive things. And you can write that down as a general characteristic. Woundedness causes you to see the depressing things and not see the encouraging things. Woundedness causes you to look at the world and it's grey. It's lost its colours. You look at relationships and you look at people. Woundedness causes you to see their faults and not their good points. So you can complain and gossip and murmur about them, but you can't praise them for the good that they do. Woundedness distorts things. It magnifies faults and it shrinks down the good in people. Pattern of broken relationships. We've looked at a number of these things before, but one is they get really jealous easily in relationships. So the possessiveness it actually ambushes the relationship, possessiveness. And so what happens then, they get too possessive and controlling, and then the other people just leave them. It's just like, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. You smother me. Have you heard that expression? I don't like being with them because they smother me. It's like they're too controlling. I don't have freedom around them. I can't just be myself. And one of the main reasons for divorce, they researched this. One of the main reasons is one of the partners feels trapped. They feel like they're trapped in a prison because they're so controlled by their partner, and so that to escape the prison they have to get divorced. So a sense of entrapment. But it's often the strong abusive personality that causes the other one to feel trapped. Often it's unforgiveness and bitterness that breaks our relationships. And that's why you remember the negative thing they did, because you got hurt, you get bitter, you get resentful, you can't forgive them now. And then you remember that one thing. So bitterness and resentment. So what do you need to forgive them for? And I've had some big breakups of long-term relationships in life. And it's very hurtful and the relationship fell apart. But I've always gone back and tried to restore that relationship. And I encourage you, as the Lord shows you your history and shows you where there's been good relationships that are broken. Now, if it's not from your side, if you fought for that relationship and that other person was the one that cut it off and you tried to have reconciliation and that other person will not have reconciliation, well, before God, you are totally innocent. Bible says, as much as depends on you, be at peace with all men. So if you've done everything from your side to do the right thing, but they're still not wanting relationship, they're still bitter and angry at you, then don't worry. Just give them to God. God can deal with them. You're okay. But from your side, have you done everything to heal that relationship? And so, I'll be really honest. My spiritual parents, for the best part of 10 years when I was in Tibet. And we had a great relationship. They spoke into my life and different things happened. And I made mistakes, they made mistakes. We forgave one another. We worked through relationship. But at the end of 10 years, there was a really big blow up. There was a really big thing that happened in our team. And I had to actually go to the senior leadership and talk to them about stuff. And so my spiritual mum and dad felt that I betrayed them and dishonoured them. And I tried to talk with them about it. They wouldn't listen, so I had to go to the other leaders, and this thing blew up. But after that, I kept sending emails. I called them on the phone. I invited them out for a meal, and we got our relationship restored. Now, I could have walked away from that, never to walk back. But see, people who are healthy spiritually, that we have the ministry of reconciliation. How do you have a ministry of reconciliation? Well, you've got to work through relationships that are broken and heal them. And it's the ministry of Christ. So wounded people don't have a ministry of reconciliation. They just have a ministry of breaking up relationships and walking away from people and never going to look back. If you're that sort of person, you cut people off and don't look back, then you need to deal with it. It's a sign of woundedness. Okay. Let's just finish there for today. We've got some more stuff to look at, but I think you might be on overload. How are you all going? Oh my goodness. I never realised what a mess I am. Yeah. Lord Jesus, help me. Before I go to bed tonight, you better do something. But I want to encourage you, even, again, I've got a number of assignments for you this afternoon and tonight. And this is where you're intentional in the prayer room, because some people, it's like, I go to the prayer room, what do? Well, I sing the song, worship Jesus, and it's getting boring, it's 2.5 hours, But be intentional in the prayer room. I'm giving you homework, Look at Isaiah, look at that passage. Ask God to take you down life's journey. Ask Him to start to show you your footprints in the sand. Get Him to show you the relationships you've had that are broken in a bad way, and ask Him, is it possible to have a restoration of that relationship? Because you know what? When restoration of those relationships comes, where you just had the curse of the bitterness of the breakup, you can now restore the blessing of that relationship. And you could actually become a blessing to them. It's where you bless those that curse you. So maybe there's these people in your life that actually really got hurt by you. Have you ever thought about that? Most of us in our selfishness and inner healing, we walk around going, I've been hurt by people in life. Did you know you've hurt people? Did you know you've deeply wounded people in life? You go around thinking about how you're hurt, but what about them? And so, what if we start to think about, there could be people in life that we've deeply hurt. And if we actually forgive them and pray for them and reach out to them and have reconciliation, we can actually be a source of God's blessing back into their life. Because they're really, they've lost their joy, or they might be so discouraged because you might not be the only one. They might have had a series of people that have rejected them, and you were just another person that God brought into their life, but then you rejected them. How about we unreject them, and you get back in and write a letter and say, I'm really sorry for how I treated you. Because remember, rejected people reject people, so there's people with this, they're pushing people away from them, and they pushed you away from them, and then you let them push you away from them. So how about we try to come back and heal them? Heal people, heal people. That's our goal, is to be healers. So who have you hurt? Heavenly Father, I just ask that you would take us deeper. That even, Lord, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is there something in our life's journey? Is there someone that you want us to have a reconciliation with? And Lord, that it would be done in a way that honours you. Even if all we do is start to pray for that person, for them to be healed for where we hurt them, Lord. Because sometimes we can't find that person, don't even know where they live anymore. But you can turn inner healing into intercession. Lord, we want to thank you for supplying lunch. And we bless the hands that made it once again. And we just ask, Lord, that you bless our conversation this afternoon. And bless the prayer room tonight, Lord, that I pray that everybody here would walk into the prayer room tonight, not with a blank heart and mind, but with a heart and mind that's been prepared through this afternoon. I pray and I believe, Lord, for the Holy Spirit that's already starting to speak, that He's going to be speaking about so many things. People are going to come with all of their garbage into the prayer room to throw it away in the spiritual rubbish bin. And then we're going to be coming tonight with people on our hearts that we need to release forgiveness over. People on our hearts that we need to pray for, to bless them where we've hurt them. That, Lord, I pray tonight that there's going to be so much happening in the Spirit, because this afternoon you've been speaking to us. And I want to encourage you, don't just go jumping around the pool and having fun. I want you to really wait on God. Jump around the pool and wait on God maybe. Jump in the pool and say, okay, God, speak to me as I'm swimming around here. But prepare your hearts, because when you come with a heart prepared, you're going to see a lot more fruitfulness in the place of the prayer room. Well, God bless you guys.
Amen.